2015-16 school calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. The calendar committee co-chairs, Ms. Stepney and Mr. Clark, are here to provide a brief overview of the calendar development process, the calendar survey results, and the proposed calendar for the 15-16 school year that you have before you for your consideration tonight. So, Ms. Stepney.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Board, and Superintendent Mr. Thurman. In accordance with Board Policy AEA, the District Calendar Committee convened in September to develop several 2015-2016 calendar options for Mr. Thurman's consideration. The Calendar Committee was comprised of a variety of stakeholders, and they represented all regions. We had students, parents, guardians, community business partners, school-level staff, and district-level advisors. The committee members were tasked with considering the following data sets: other metro districts' calendars, the number of days per semester, inclement weather emergency days, spring holidays, and state testing parameters. Also, the members decided to obtain stakeholder input through a survey rather than a vote. It is important to note that the district made the survey available in English as well as 7 additional languages to reach as many stakeholders as possible. The proposed calendar is instructionally sound and aligns with similarly sized districts in close geographic proximity. It is important to note that 61.2% of our employees live in DeKalb, 11.4% in Gwinnett, and 7.9% in Fulton County. The reason that that information is important is that you will see many of the features of our calendar are aligned to the other districts. Some of the features that I would like to highlight today. The proposed calendar has 180 student contact days. The first day of school is Monday, August 10th, 2015, like Gwinnett and Fulton. There are 190 teacher contract days, including 9 teacher work days and 1 day reserved to conduct parent-teacher conferences. We have also added this year an inclement weather day, which is slated for April 1st, 2016. The spring break is planned for April 4th through April 8th, 2016. This week coincides with most metro area districts, including Gwinnett, Cobb, Atlanta Public Schools, Fulton, and Decatur City. The last day of school for our students is planned for May 26, 2016, like Fulton. There is no financial impact. It is requested that the Board of Education approve the traditional calendar for the 2015-2016 school year. This item establishes the school calendar for the district during the period of July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2016.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Orson?
A couple quick questions, and thank you for this, and thank you for the comparative data, because I think that, that's a point we've talked about before with Fulton, Gwinnett, and where our employees are. And before my questions, I will make the observation as a parent of a 9th grader, the divergence of opinion over an earlier start date between high school students and their parents. So the high school students want to start earlier, maybe to get out of the house and not have mom and dad yelling at them, but it did jump out now that I have a 9th grader. A couple quick questions. One, the April 1st date, that is an inclement weather day. If we don't use it, is that a day off from school?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Secondly, would you be, and I know I raised this by email, and hopefully we don't have a repeat of last year because we were just figuratively and literally digging out, but at least perhaps designating March 11th as an inclement weather day if we face that situation. We already have Professional Development Day, and I know that it would impact that, but at least it would send a sign to parents that if we needed to make up day, they should plan accordingly. And I know other systems, at least some, and I know Gwinnett, for example, builds 3, I think, inclement weather days, including, I want to say they may build the 27th in, which in May is the last day as an inclement weather day. So would you be amenable, I mean, I throw that out just from a planning standpoint so that parents at least have a little notice if we, and then I have one other question, but.
Mr. Orson, thank you for the suggestion. There are other factors to consider when we designate the inclement weather days. We are excited this year that we've planned for the second year 180 student contact days, but the state allows us to have flexibility. So in the event we do have inclement weather, we have, if you will, 4 days that can be forgiven before we have to designate another day. And you are so correct. The year that we had the terrible weather, we didn't have as much flexibility because we didn't build a calendar that was 180 days. So if you look at our calendar now, because we've designated 1 day, we would really have the 4 plus this one already designated. And sure, that would be a great suggestion to move into the March 16, 17, yes.
Though it strikes me, because we're planning now, we could do it now, and in fact, if we need, because last year I think we had 6 or 7 inclement weather days. We don't have to use it if it doesn't come about. It seems to me that knowing that the state allows 4 days, that from a planning standpoint, because we're really talking about over a full year from now, at least designating it as a potential inclement weather day just gives us that backstop. Hopefully we don't have to use it, but I'm not really seeing the downside of designating it as a potential inclement weather day, other than it's not written on there right at the moment. But, and if necessary, I guess I could offer it as an amendment to the calendar, but I just sort of wanted to have a discussion first, and then again, I still have my one other question. I mean, is there any rationale not to do that?
No, sir.
Can I ask a question? Can you give your rationale why you want March 11th as that?
Well, because
date?
we have it designated as for staff already being in the building, so it's not as if we're telling we've already got part of our community going to the building. That way it gives parents a heads up, because we could, the state gave us relief last year, so that was one of the reasons why we didn't have to make up all the days. That way we at least have a plan. We could choose not to use it, but I think I'm most uncomfortable where parents aren't giving any potential notice. And there have been times when systems have said, okay, you're going to school Saturday to make up. I mean, the more advance notice we can give parents, I think the better off we're served. We're not necessarily going to use it, but at least they would be aware that if we faced a similar situation as we did in 2014, we'd have a plan for making up the days more than a single inclement weather day.
Then my point would be, when are you going to make up my professional development day?
I
So
understand.
now I need you to designate me a day for that.
No, I understand that, but in choosing between, I mean, I think I would like to optimize the instructional days if we have to choose one. I understand that we are sacrificing something there, but, if I have to choose between one or the other, I don't want to choose between teachers and students, but I think optimizing the number of instructional days.
And I can see your point, but I would also like to go back probably past calendars and see the average of inclement weather days that we had to put on the calendar over the past 3 or 4 years. Has it been more than 5 that we've needed?
Last year was a very unique year.
I believe it was.
Yes.
Right, and I get we may never use it. This is just about planning purposes. I mean, the reason we designate any inclement weather days is to give people a heads up that a day not currently scheduled as a regular school day may in fact become a regular school day. I was not hoping to see this as a contentious issue, simply a planning, and I'll move on, and if the sense is not to do it, fine, but I just think there was some prudence to it. The other thing for my ask is, when we finish this process, if we might consider jumping ahead to try to get the next year's calendar, as a lot of systems do on a 2-year cycle, exactly, so that we're not here in January of the summer immediately before us trying to figure out the calendar, because that is one of the recurring themes I get in emails from people.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
If I may, I think that's an excellent idea. One of the things to recognize, and due to the leadership of this board, we got 180 contact days. But prior to that, it was just, I won't use the word crapshoot. It was very unsettled in terms of a calendar because of the recession and mismanagement by the leadership, the board, and on this board. So now that we've moved from that point, now we can begin to plan in a more traditional way that other districts. And this is a huge thing. Ms. Stephanie kind of fluffed over it. She mentioned it. But how important is the 180 days, Ms. Stephanie?
We are extremely excited. The teachers who were on the committee, that was the first thing walking in the door. They said, we are willing to give up some of our planning days as long as we can meet with our students. And I said to them, no, our task is directly from the superintendent. We must build a 180-day calendar with student contact days, and we're also protecting your teacher planning days. So that was an important fact for the teachers.
And this will have an impact on our student growth and achievement.
Yeah.
Comes back to my point about trying to protect ourselves on the student contact.
We're gonna designate that as the Marshall Orson Day. That's really what we need to do. Inclement weather day. I think that's what we need to really do, Mr. But Mr. Orson and Mr. Chair, let us discuss this between now and the business session, because I don't want to make a commitment without talking to the people who actually worked on this. Yeah, I understand. Can we discuss it in the interim? Absolutely. And then I'll feel more comfortable, because they did the work, and I'm not in a position to say it.
Dr. Marley, followed by Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree that we have 180 instructional days, and sometimes we start tinkering with things. And I want to commend the committee and for the effort and all the people that you all met with and come to a consensus to be able to do like this. But I also agree with Dr. Irwin is that we cannot forfeit a professional work day, and I'm not going to allow Mr. Orson to be God and predict a bad winter. So we don't want to start thinking like that. So we don't want to speak it into existence. But no, I really agree with what we have here, and I would really like to see that professional day stay there, because we have to be cognizant of that for our teachers and our educators also. And thank you all for the wonderful job that you all have done.
Thank you.
Mr. McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify for me, April 1st, 2016, are we in school that day already or no?
If we have inclement weather, and if it is the desire of the superintendent and the board at that time that we have exhausted our 4 forgiven days and we need a 5th day, then that particular day we would go to school. If we do not need that 5th day, then it's a holiday for all.
So spring break would start the 1st?
Hypothetically speaking, if
Yeah,
there's
so
good weather.
Thursday, the March 31st is the last day of school, and then we'd roll till the 10th of April.
Yes.
Book your rooms right now. But that means a lot, and I just thank you for providing that clarity. Thank you.
Mr. Orson.
Just a quick suggestion, and I was talking to Dr. Irwin, and again, as part of your conversation, Superintendent, what if we kind of flipped the 11th and April 1st, so that the 11th was the inclement weather day or a holiday, and the 1st, so we had the 1st in reserve as we got later, and it either could be a professional development day or an inclement weather day if we went to a point of having 2, and that way we're just sort of optimizing our flexibility. Just, I'll discuss it in the break. I just wanted to give you another. Okay.
Okay.
Is there any opposition to placing this item on the consent agenda?
Dr. Johnson, I was wondering if I could say a word.
Go right ahead.
I'm slightly disappointed that we didn't have more people taking that survey. I really appreciate you going out of your way to get the community involved and getting their answers. Do you know how long that survey was open?
Thank you for the question. Yes, sir. The survey was open from October 10th through October the 20th.
For 10 days?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Do you think we'd get a better response if we had it open longer, or is it the number of responses just dive and it's just not even worth it?
It's relative. We have seen calendar years. I've been on the calendar committee survey since 1996. So we have seen years where we've had an astronomical response because people thought it was a vote. And we have found that now that we're not asking them to vote, that we want the meaningful feedback, we're getting better responses, because part of the survey is to give us the commentary. So we have reviewed those comments.
Gotcha. It sounds like you've racked your brain with this over the years.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, thanks.
Okay, I'll ask the question again. Is there any opposition to placing this item on the consent agenda?
Well, just a point of information, because I know they're going to talk in the break, so I guess I'd be fine with it on the caveat that if they come back with a modification, then we're just going to have to modify it at the meeting.
So are you saying we need to make it an
I'm-
action item, or?
If it's okay, but if they come back and they're comfortable with it, let's just keep in mind that we're going to have to amend it and take it off the consent agenda.
It'll just take us an extra 10 seconds,
Right, well, that's true.
Okay, we're just making an action
Yeah,
item.
I mean,
Okay.
again, I'm fine if that's what it come out. I'll leave it to them to figure out.